America's most dangerous prison gangs. What they are and what they do. Subscribe for more real crime stories. Like, share, and join the discussion below. The concrete hallway inside Pelican Bay State Prison was silent. Too silent for a maximum security unit known for non-stop tension. It was February 2012, and officers were responding to something that jolted even the most hardened guards. When they opened the steel door to cell B-107, they found inmate Christopher Red Looney lying motionless on the floor. His bunkmate, Aryan Brotherhood associate Michael Big Mike Thompson, stood against the wall, calm, collected, almost rehearsed. At first glance, guards assumed it was a medical emergency, maybe a seizure, maybe heart failure. But when investigators leaned down to lift Looney's body, they saw the truth. He had been strangled, quietly, efficiently, with the kind of precision that told them this wasn't a spontaneous outburst. This was a message. Officers escorted Big Mike out of the unit, but he didn't fight, didn't shout. He simply said, "You boys already know what this is." And in a way, they did. For months, intelligence officers had been tracking whispers of a violent purge inside several California prisons, a coordinated sweep ordered by the Aryan Brotherhood, one of America's most dangerous prison gangs. The murder of Looney wasn't random. It was part of a larger plan, one tied to codes, debts, betrayals, and orders smuggled out of isolation cells. But the officers didn't yet know what was coming next, how this killing would lead to a years-long federal investigation, dozens of undercover recordings, secret indictments, and the unmasking of gang leaders who used hidden networks to run operations both inside and outside of prison walls. Just as medical staff prepared to remove Looney's body, a sergeant shouted from down the tier. Another inmate had collapsed in a different block. Same day, same gang ties, same signs of strangulation. A second body. 2 killings within minutes. Something enormous was unfolding. Something far bigger than rival inmates settling scores. The prison went into full lockdown. Every door slammed shut. Every guard grabbed riot gear. And investigators realized they weren't looking at isolated incidents. They were witnessing the opening blows of a coordinated internal war. Then a radio crackled with a message that froze the entire response team. "There's a note. Found taped to the vent. Says this isn't over." And that was when authorities understood they were no longer dealing with prison violence. They were dealing with a structured military-style operation carried out by a gang that had been preparing for years. Years earlier, long before these murders, the story began with inmates scattered across California's toughest prisons. Men who grew up in small towns, big cities, rural counties, and troubled neighborhoods. Many weren't born into crime. Some were addicts, some were wanderers, some simply made terrible decisions. But inside the labyrinth of America's overcrowded penitentiary system, they quickly learned that survival wasn't about strength, it was about allegiance. The Aryan Brotherhood, formed in the 1960s inside San Quentin, was one of the most feared. Its members enforced rigid loyalty rules, ran contraband networks, and carried out attacks with cold precision. Over the decades, they became infamous for orchestrating killings even from solitary confinement, using coded letters, corrupt contacts, and kites passed between cells. By the early 2000s, federal agencies were tracking an unusual spike in organized assaults, both inside and outside prisons. Something was shifting. Something pointed to a central command structure. Leaders who shouldn't have been able to communicate, yet somehow were giving orders across multiple facilities. Families of inmates began noticing sudden changes in phone calls. Staff intercepted coded notes talking about cleaning the house. Intelligence officers kept hearing the same phrase. Someone's breaking the rules. Someone's gotta go. But investigators didn't know who. They didn't know when. And worst of all, they didn't know how many lives were already on the Brotherhood's secret hit list. Just as the investigation was starting to gain momentum, a new informant walked into a federal office and said 6 chilling words that changed everything. "I know who they're going to kill next." The man who walked into the federal building that afternoon looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. His hands trembled, his voice cracked, and every few seconds he glanced over his shoulder as if expecting someone to burst through the door. His name was Brandon Keeler, a former low-level Aryan Brotherhood runner who had quietly drifted away from gang life after his release. But now he was back, terrified, desperate, and carrying information that would shake the entire investigation. He told agents that the killings inside Pelican Bay were not random outbreaks. They were part of a sweeping internal cleansing ordered by Brotherhood leaders who believed some members had turned informant. A purge, a list, and according to Brandon, that list was longer than anyone had guessed. The agents listened, stone-faced, as he explained how orders were being smuggled out of the special housing unit, a place where inmates were supposed to be completely isolated. But isolation didn't matter, not to gangs who had mastered the art of secret communication. Messages traveled through coded letters disguised as legal mail, through compromised correctional staff, through visitors who had no idea the notes they carried were actually death warrants. Brandon leaned forward, whispering, "They already got Looney. They got the other guy, but that's not where it stops. There's another hit coming within days." The room went silent. Agents immediately began cross-checking names from intelligence reports. One stood out. Larry the Beast Melton, a longtime member who'd recently refused to follow an internal order. If Brandon was telling the truth, Melton wasn't just in danger. He was next. Inside Pelican Bay, investigators scrambled to find Melton and question him. But prisons are slow-moving machines, layers of security, steel doors, counts, sign-offs. Hours passed as officers searched multiple units. And all the while, hidden inside the maze of concrete and fluorescent lighting, a race was unfolding between law enforcement and a gang that prided itself on precision. Meanwhile, outside prison walls, the story stretched deeper. Federal investigators began reviewing old case files, court transcripts, surveillance footage, and intercepted calls. That was when they uncovered something startling. The purge wasn't just about suspected snitches. It was connected to a decade-old federal sting operation that had once led to multiple Aryan Brotherhood indictments. Those cases had left fractures inside the gang, fractures that were only now erupting into violence. Interviews with former inmates revealed the pressure cooker environment that had been building for years. Some spoke of secret meetings held in yard corners, coded drawings hidden in paperback books, and quiet warnings exchanged during chow time. Others described the suffocating tension of not knowing who to trust. When the Brotherhood thinks you're a problem, one former inmate said, "You don't get a warning. You just get a goodbye." Investigators began forming a clearer picture. The murders were punitive, yes, but they were also strategic. The Brotherhood was tightening its ranks, eliminating anyone who was loose, unreliable, or challenging leadership. This wasn't chaos. It was control. Back inside Pelican Bay, guards finally located Larry Melton in a distant block. He was agitated, pacing back and forth, unaware that his life was hanging by a thread. Officers pulled him aside and rushed him to a secure area for questioning. Before they could even begin, Melton blurted out something that stunned the team. "They think I'm the leak. They think I talked. I didn't, I swear I didn't. But they told me if I don't fix this, I'm done." "Fix what?" an investigator asked. Melton swallowed hard. The hit, the one that's supposed to happen next. Everyone in the room froze. "Another killing?" the agent pressed.
Who? When?
Melton shook his head. "They didn't tell me the name. Only that the order already left the SQ. Once that happens, there's no stopping it." Before investigators could press further, a correctional officer burst into the room, face pale, breathing hard. "We just got a code from C Block," he said. "There's been another attack." The room erupted into motion. Agents grabbing radios, officers sprinting down the hall, alarms echoing across the prison. And once again, Pelican Bay went into lockdown. But this time, the victim wasn't who anyone expected. C Block was a storm of flashing lights and echoing alarms when investigators arrived. Officers stood shoulder to shoulder, shields raised, expecting to find another Brotherhood target lying on the concrete. But as they pushed deeper into the unit, it became clear that something had gone very wrong. The victim wasn't an inmate at all. A correctional officer, Officer Raymond Cutter, lay unconscious near the entrance to a shower corridor. He wasn't dead, but he was badly beaten, and the attack had been precise, efficient, carried out with the same cold strategy investigators had seen in the earlier killings. But Cutter had no gang ties. He wasn't on any list. He wasn't even involved in the investigation. Then Melton's words echoed back. Once the order leaves the SHU, there's no stopping it. Had the Brotherhood hit the wrong target? Or was Cutter attacked for a different reason entirely? Paramedics rushed Cutter out of the unit, and investigators quickly locked down every inmate in C Block. That was when a surprising detail emerged. Multiple witnesses said the attacker wasn't a Brotherhood member. Instead, he was linked to a rival gang, the Mexican Mafia. The Brotherhood purge had triggered something much bigger, a domino effect rippling through rival factions, each scrambling to take advantage of the chaos. Behind the scenes, the prison was a pressure cooker. Gangs that had been locked in uneasy truces sensed weakness and opportunity. Old debts resurfaced. Old rivalries reignited. And while investigators were trying to track one murder plot, they realized they were now in the middle of a multi-gang power struggle that could explode at any moment. Federal agents expanded their investigation. They began tracing communication lines, comparing intercepted notes, and analyzing coded messages between members of the Aryan Brotherhood, Mexican Mafia, and the Fresno Bulldogs. Patterns emerged, patterns showing that the purge order had circulated far beyond its intended targets, creating confusion, retaliation, and misdirection. Meanwhile, in the hospital hours later, Officer Cutter regained consciousness. What he told investigators changed everything. He remembered being grabbed from behind. He remembered being slammed against the wall. And he remembered one sentence whispered in his ear. "They know you've been talking to them." "Them?" an agent asked. Cutter nodded weakly. "The feds." It hit investigators like a punch. Cutter had been quietly providing information about contraband routes and inmate movements, not about gangs, not about murders, but enough for someone to brand him a threat. Somehow, his cooperation had leaked. Someone inside the prison system, possibly a staff member, had alerted inmates that Cutter was speaking with federal agents. But who? And why now? Within days, the FBI uncovered the truth. A corrupted civilian prison worker had been passing messages between inmates and outside gang members for cash. One of her messages, misunderstood and passed along the wrong line, had made it sound like Cutter was the source of the Brotherhood investigation. The gangs didn't plan to hit him. It was an accident triggered by a mix-up in the illegal communication chain. Still, the attempted killing of a correctional officer forced authorities to escalate their response. Federal prosecutors moved fast. Sealed indictments were opened. Multiple Brotherhood leaders, including men already serving life sentences, were charged with orchestrating murder plots from inside their cells. Additional charges were filed against rival gang members who had used the purge chaos to settle their own scores. The corrupted staff member was arrested, and many inmates were transferred to federal supermax facilities. One by one, investigators pieced together the communication network, revealing how gangs had used coded letters, manipulated staff, and exploited prison weaknesses to run operations with military-like precision. The case became one of the most extensive gang conspiracy takedowns in modern prison history. Pelican Bay eventually reopened from its weeks-long lockdown. But the atmosphere was different. Tighter. Heavier. As one warden said in testimony, "These gangs don't just operate in prison. They operate through prison." The case exposed a truth that still haunts correctional officers today. Even behind concrete, steel, and locked isolation cells, America's most dangerous prison gangs remain powerful, organized, patient, and capable of reshaping entire institutions with a single whispered order.